And at tonight's meeting, the Breitung Township Schools Board of Education requested a bond election be placed on the ballot this November. The bond request states that the district would levy 4.6 mills. If passed, the estimated cost to taxpayers on an average household in Kingsford or Breitung Township would be $343 per year. Of the many proposed improvements this bond would pay for, they include an additional gymnasium at Woodland Elementary, an expansion of the Kingsford Middle High School Commons area, and a new designated Kingsford Middle School band room.